Hello, and welcome to the Success Path Show, where Christian business owners share their tips for success to show you how to succeed more effectively with your kingdom goals. Today, I have a very special guest. I'm so excited for you to meet him and to find out what he's all about. His name is Jeremy Nix, and Jeremy is a husband to his best friend of 19 years and a dad to his two teenage sons. His wife and he have built a successful health business, generating 7 figures annually in just 4 years. Jeremy is a former hostage and crisis negotiator and uses his experience in negotiations and business to help other entrepreneurs connect with their potential and current clients to grow their influence and make a significant impact. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hey, Violet, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to just get to connect and share with everyone about becoming more successful and making a positive impact. Because that's really what success really should just be about, that positive impact, right? So
Definitely.
thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and I'm excited to have you here because the whole purpose of this show, it came from my two sets of friends. Some of my friends went from stories of being broke, growing in utter poverty, and I think you can relate to some of this, homeless, but they reached like high 7 figures. And then I have other friends who didn't make it. So how do we bridge the gap?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you just said I have friends who come from different stories. And I will tell you, to me, there is so much power in a person's story. And it's all about digging deep into what are the stories that I have experienced that lead to the stories that I tell myself, which lead to what I believe. Because what we believe drives how we feel. Because emotions, right, are energy in motion, emotions. And what we believe drives those emotions. And what we feel drives our actions, and our actions drive our results. And I think a huge part is getting to the heart of our story, where it all began. I know that for me, I discovered what was possible because of trauma. It wasn't success that led me to discover that success is possible. It was actually trauma and difficulty that showed me what, number one, what God is capable of in my life, and then number two, because of Him in my life, what I'm capable of and what I can do with His power and His strength and His leading and guidance. So if I trust Him with my story, where can that take me is what I learned. I actually learned at a pretty young age. And do you want me to share that story? Is that where you want me to share that with the folks right now?
I would love you to because then it's an incredible story, and I believe it'll bring a lot of hope and encouragement to our audience out there.
So when I was 16 years old, I actually came from a really great family. My parents are still married, have been married for as long as as long as I've known them. They've been married forever, and they're still married, getting ready to celebrate another. I think they just 51 years this year, 51 years, and
Awesome.
um, my dad's always been a hard worker, worked his way up in his company to provide for our family. My mom was not just an amazing mom who was with us all the time, but she also worked in the school system with us. And I've got my sister. Like, we were just I was blessed to be born into a family that's kind of, most people looking from the outside would say they've got it all together.
Mm,
And I kind of had a charmed life in a lot of ways. We weren't wealthy. We didn't have everything, but we had what we needed, and we were blessed by that. And that also, because of my upbringing, I also think I got to experience things that maybe some people don't. Like, I was very involved in school. I was very involved in sports. I did all the things. I had the girlfriend. I had the new car. I had all the things at 16. Like, I was living that life. And I don't say that to be like, oh, look at me. I say that to say, like I started, that sometimes success is not born out of success. Success is born out of trauma and pain. And At 16 years old, I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, stage 3B of that cancer, which just means I was at the last stages of it. I was given less than a 40% chance to live, even less of a chance to cure. They told me, hey, we can maybe stop this for now, but there's a good chance it's going to come back, because I had the cancer for over a year and a half before they ever even diagnosed me with it. And suddenly I went from being, I've got this charmed life, to why me? Why has my life been cursed? It's amazing how quickly one instance can change the way we perceive our life and the story we begin to tell ourselves. As a matter of fact, at first, when I started going through the cancer diagnosis, which was about a 3-month diagnosis in itself, or all the testing they needed to do, I had all the faith in the world. I had all the belief in the world. I remember one time, the doctor he was working with me, and I was the only student or young person he'd ever worked with. He didn't work with children, and he was willing to work with me at 16 years old. And he said, I'll work with him. And which was a blessing that I didn't even realize at the time, because he was the #1 oncologist for my type of cancer. And he said he'd work with me. I remember him looking at me one time kind of odd, because I was so full of hope and joy in the middle of it all. And he said, I just don't get it. And because I knew that God was going to heal me, everything was going to be fine, things were going to be great, they were going to do these tests, and everything was going to be fine. I had no doubts. And then right towards the end of all of the different diagnosis tests that they did, we found out that the cancer was actually worse than they expected. They had to remove my spleen. They told me I was going to do intense chemotherapy followed by intense radiation. And all the things I loved were going to be gone. No more going to school and hanging out with my friends. No more playing sports. Losing my hair, which, as you can see, that's never changed. All of those things were going to be gone. And I would be sick a lot. And I went from going, no, I'm full of hope. I'm full of faith. I've got this. God's going to just take care of it. He's just going to wipe it away, to finding myself in a hospital bed, angry, disillusioned. And I began to tell myself a story that I was forgotten, that my faith wasn't what I thought it was, that the faith I'd been raised in wasn't what I thought it was. And my father came into the hospital bed. I kicked everybody out. I was so mad when the doctor came and saw me. I kicked everybody out. And my dad came in, and he didn't know what to say to me. And I want to tell you, I'm going to pause there to say this. You may go, what in the world does this have to do with business? I want to pause and say, not knowing what to say in your business is sometimes the greatest answer you can ever have. Too many of us know how to tell people things. Sometimes we need to not know what to say. And my dad didn't know what to say, because his sister had died a year and a week to the exact same day that I was diagnosed. She died with cancer. And then a year later, his son was diagnosed with it. So in my dad's mind, he really believed that I was going to die. He was going to lose his son. And so I looked at him, I said, Dad, I'm not doing chemotherapy. I'm not doing radiation. God was supposed to heal me. He didn't heal me, and I'm done. And he said, well, son, I don't know what to say to you right now. I just know that maybe you should have some conversations with God about this. What do you want to ask God? And I said, I don't even know. And he said, well, I don't have an answer for you. But and he put on my chest, because my stomach they had just removed my spleen. So my stomach was still a wound, and it was covered up with stitches and all kinds of things. So he put on my chest, he put his Bible on my chest. And he said, I'm going to let the Lord speak to you right now, because I don't have a good answer for you.
Aww.
And so he stepped out of the room. I was mad. He stepped out of the room. And I said to God, I'm going to give you one shot, which I don't recommend anyone ever does. But I said, I said, because I'm mad. And so I opened up the Bible, and I began to look, and I opened up to 2 Kings chapter 5. It's the story of Naaman. In 2 Kings chapter 5, Naaman was a valiant warrior. He had everything that he needed, kind of like my charmed life. He had it all together. He had brought major victory to his king. But Naaman had leprosy. So his king sent him to Elisha and said, here, heal my servant. And the man of God did not come out of his house for this amazing guy. He didn't do some special thing for Naaman. What he did for Naaman was he said, go dip in the Jordan River. And Naaman, like Jeremy, got really angry. And he said, I'm not doing that. I am not going to do that. Why couldn't he could have done something great for me. And Naaman left that man of God's house angry and he stomped off in a fit. I had kicked everybody out of my hospital room. I was mad. I'm not going through chemotherapy. I'm not dipping in the Jordan River. I'm not doing radiation. He can send me to a different river because there's cleaner rivers out there. And what happened in that moment was a servant. A servant had a great question. Oh, there it is again. My dad didn't have an answer. Best thing in the world for him not to have an answer. He could have told me a lot of things. He could have given me a lot of encouragement. He didn't. This servant didn't have an answer for Naaman. They had a question. They came to Naaman with a question and they said, Master, if the man of God would have told you to do a great thing, would you have done it? And Naaman goes, of course, I could have dipped in this river. It was clean. I could have dipped in the Euphrates. It's clean. It's nice. He's sending me to the nastiest, dirtiest river. Why? I'm so mad. And then Naaman's servant had a second question. So why not, if this will make you clean? Why not dip in it? So many times in business, we as business leaders try to have all the answers and tell people what they need. We tell people what we want them to do. We tell them, instead of digging into their story so we can learn what they actually need by asking questions and getting to know them. And this servant did the exact right thing. And Naaman had this aha moment, and so did I. I lay in this hospital bed and Naaman goes, you're right. I just want to get better. I want leprosy gone. And so he went to the Jordan River and he dipped in it 7 times. And I said to myself, I just want this cancer to be gone. Yeah, God didn't wave his hand over me and heal me in an instant. But maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe there's something deeper that God wants to do with me. So maybe I just need to go through the dirty part. Maybe I should go through the messy part. Maybe God has me in the messy middle of my Jordan River, which is chemotherapy and radiation, for a purpose. I don't know. I just know this. And this is what I said to God in that moment. I said, God, I'll go through any Jordan River you want me to go through. I don't care. I'm going to trust you with my whole life. And I'll do whatever you want if you just take me through this disease and you help me get clean. And if that means chemo, I'll do it. And there it was, 16 years old. I made a commitment to God that I didn't realize. And that was, I'll do whatever you want with my life if you'll just help me get clean. And God has held me to that. And here I am over 25 years later. I'm cancer free, obviously.
Praise
now.
God.
I'm 25 years later. Yeah. I was told I'd never have children. I have 2 sons, as you talked about. That are my boys. Both times that my wife got pregnant, both times the doctor said, you can't have kids. And I'm like, well, here's Cameron, here's Connor, you're wrong. So God has done more and more. And through that process, I learned a whole lot about what really matters, about how to connect with people who are going through difficulty, how to find solutions for people through not actually having solutions, but by being curious and asking questions like those servants did. And I really just learned about what really matters. And so I now utilize those things I gave God my promise and I stuck to it, and I said, I'll do whatever it takes to make a difference. And so from there, the Lord had me step into ministry. I was a full-time pastor for 14 years. After speaking in high schools throughout California, I became a youth pastor, and then I became a full-time adult pastor for 14 years. I stepped into law enforcement without even knowing why that was going to be useful. I just knew it was my next right step. And through that, I became an FBI hostage negotiator and learned about the power of building rapport, curiosity, asking questions, and of being able to establish connection in hostile environments and convert them to trust-filled environments, having no idea why I really needed that. And then 4 years ago, had another transformative experience in my own personal health that led me to saying, man, if people can get their physical health in line and their emotional health in line, it's going to be easier. They're going to be more open to their spiritual health. And my wife and I started this business 4 years ago and have built an amazing business of just helping people experience health, whole health, and then helping other people to then help others experience that same type of health in their life. And it's been phenomenal, and it's been great. So that's my story. And I use all those experiences to build this now business of that's been so successful and so life-giving. So
yeah, and like you told me when we were talking prior to the show, is that you went in just 4 years, you built your business from the start to now it's a 7-figure revenue generating business.
Yes. Yes.
And so what are your secrets to building that business?
I think one of the biggest secrets actually is that my ability to build my business is 100% dependent on my ability to authentically connect with other people and develop that strong rapport and connection with people. So many business builders, entrepreneurs. I am an entrepreneur by heart. Just so you know, I have failed at 7 other businesses before this one. I have tried multiple, including a gumball business, by the way. I tried to go into the gumball industry. I have built or attempted to build 7 businesses before this. And the biggest difference between the 7 and now this one is that my approach is that I no longer sell and tell. Too many people try and tell and sell everybody. Let me tell you why you need this. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you what I can do. And I try and sell you. Too many people are like those, they don't really do it anymore, but like those kiosk salespeople in the malls that were used to try and sell you phone plans, where you'd walk by like, hey, here's a phone. You need this phone. You need this phone. Just like they're stalking you, and all you really want to do is head in and get a new pair of shoes. And they never ask you what you need. They tell you what you need. I believe that your success is 100% dependent on your ability to truly, authentically connect with the person that you want to help and to develop rapidly rapport. That rapid connection and rapport that says, wow, I like you. We have a commonality. There's something here. In our world, we call it caring and then sharing. Rather than selling and telling, we care and share. So that's the first secret. I would say the second secret is success is found in daily restarts. I heard the story of an athlete, Bo Eason. He has a philosophy that says it's a 24-hour rule. 24-hour rule. Whether it's a failure or a success, he sits in it for 24 hours and then moves on. And too many of us, we sit in our funk, our failures, for longer than 24 hours. I believe you have to feel your failure. I believe when you have a hard moment, a trial, an obstacle, you have to feel it. You have to know how that makes you feel, because that's impacting. Difficulties are impacting your story, right? They're impacting what you believe, how you're processing that emotionally. So you need to feel it. But too many of us just sit there forever. And we live in that. We live in those past regrets. We live in those difficult moments. And then also, on the other side, too many of us kind of live in those 1 or 2 successes. And we just kind of relish in the moment. Like, oh, this is amazing. I just want to live here. I remember as a kid going to youth camp as a high schooler, going to youth camp. And like, you'd go to youth camp and you have this amazing experience. It was just the greatest time, summer camp with the youth group. And nobody wants to come home from the summer camp. Nobody wants to come off the top of the mountain. And I think we do that even in our business life. We're like, ooh, I had this really great success here. I just want to live here. I just want to live in this. But we can't. We have to reset daily. Enjoy the 24 hours. Lament for the 24 hours. But then you restart and you win the next day. No matter what, I restart fresh and I win the next day. That has been the secret for me. Because I am a chronic lamenter. I'm also kind of a chronic live in the moment guy. Like, oh, this has just been so great. I tend to be a little bit sentimental. And so I kind of want to go back. For my honeymoon, I took my wife. One of the places we went was a place that I grew up going to as a vacation. It's called Silver Dollar City. And I'm like, babe, we got to go here. You're going to love it. It was me. And I got there. I'm like, oh, this is not what I remember it to be. But I had been living there in my mind for so long that it wasn't really a reality. The same thing is true of your successes. Sometimes we live in this, like, we relish the moment for too long. Start each day over. If you failed yesterday, great. Start again today. If you won yesterday, great. Win again today. So that's number 2. Success is found in your daily restarts. And then I think the third thing I would say is you achieving your intrinsic why, that thing that's motivating you deeper within. What motivates me is not the fact that we have a large business. It doesn't even motivate me that I've been able to retire early. It does, like from my normal 9 to 5 just to pursue this. That's not what motivates me. What motivates me is what goes on inside of me, and what pushes me to build even more are the things we're able to do now because of that success. I don't say this again out of being, I say this as an example, but I have a missionary friend who's a mentor to me, and because of our success, we've been able to help him build multiple homes, and we're getting ready to build a village in Romania, which includes a resource center. Yeah, it's so exciting. 10 homes and a resource center for people to actually begin to develop work, not just have a place to live, but actually begin to create resource of their own. And then a trauma center for displaced youth, because in Romania, the human trafficking is huge and displaced youth is such a problem. And so we're building a trauma center there. That's what my intrinsic why is. That's way bigger than some dollar amount.
So
it's way more important.
What if people aren't connected to that intrinsic why? How can they find that?
Yeah, I would ask this question. I love this question. I am at my best when. I think that why is Simon Sinek says this. He says it's that why is a difficult word to define or to answer. It's a difficult question to answer because it sits on a part of the brain that is not as articulate, if you will. So when we ask, well, why do you want something? I do this a lot with potential clients. When I'm working with a client, I ask, why? Why does that matter to you? And it's very difficult for them to say why. Think about this, because I work a lot with people with health. The last time someone was on a quote unquote diet and they binged some food on a Saturday and they had a whole pizza. They went from having a great week to a whole pizza. If you ask them why they ate the pizza, they'd say because it was there. I mean, that's it. But if I ask them what was going on around them before or after, now they can begin to articulate, oh, I was really stressed. Oh, I had a really hard day. Okay, now we're getting something there. That's the why. So ask yourself questions of what or when. When are you at your best? What is different about your life when you achieve the tangible goal? So if someone says, well, my why is I want to make enough money to retire early. So Jeremy, you retired 15 years early. I want to do that. I want to retire from my job. I would ask the question, what makes that important to you right now? What about retiring from your job makes a difference in your life? And then they might say something along the lines of, because I'm sick of missing my kids' games. When they play sports, I can never be there. Tell me what about being at their sports matters to you? Well, my dad was never at anything, and I don't want them to experience what I experienced. Now we've touched on why. We've touched on why.
That's really, really powerful, and I think it'll help a lot of people. So Jeremy, what is the main point that you want the audience to take away? Those people that are struggling in business that said, I've tried not only 7, but maybe 10 businesses and I still feel like a failure. How can you encourage them?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I want you to understand is that the world is full of people that are trying to sell and tell people stuff. It's a giant ocean out there, and there's a whole lot of people in it trying to sell people their thing. If you want to achieve whatever it is that is your intrinsic why, you have to become a person who can connect. Successful people connect. They connect authentically. They dig deep into the story of the person that they're actually trying to help with whatever product or service they offer. So the key to you being set apart as a business leader, as someone who's building a business, whether it's a gumball or a health business, is your ability to learn to care and connect with the people you want to serve. And that's a skill. It's an art. It's a soft skill. There's lots of hard skills. There's lots of tools out there you can get. You can build funnels. You can create programs, write books. The soft skill is connection.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that kind of leads to your freebie that you want to give the audience. It's negotiating for life, over
Yeah.
50 open-ended questions to build rapport. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it can help
Absolutely.
them?
This was actually birthed out of a conversation I wasn't having with my son. So I was driving my son to football every single day for his practices, and it was very quiet and it drove me nuts. I'm like, this is a chance for me to be close to my son. And so I began to ask him open ended questions. A lot of times we ask things like, how was your day at school? That's a closed question. It was good or bad. That's all you're going to get. Do you have homework tonight? Yes or no? Those are closed questions. And so I began to ask him, what was one of your favorite things about school? Hey, what are you most nervous about today's practice? What are you hoping to learn at today's practice? What do you wish your coach would see in you that they are not seeing yet? I began to ask him open-ended questions. We went from having silent road trips to him literally not stopping. He would just talk the whole way there, and then we talked the whole way back, and I wasn't saying a thing because I was just asking questions. And I learned and have bonded with my son more in that than ever. So I thought to myself, this is what business people are missing. They don't know how to ask questions. They know how to tell. They don't know how to ask. And so I created these rapport, and they're actually categorized. They're specific questions that you can ask that will help you dig into what a person wants and why they want it. And some of them are just there to build rapport, just to actually create connection. And so there's 50 of them. They're categorized in different ways. Plus, it also teaches you how to utilize them and why questions matter, why curiosity is so important. And so I'd love to give it to everybody, and we'll give them the link and we'll give it to everybody, and it'll just be a great way for us to connect. And obviously they can connect with me on social media, and I answer every DM I ever get on Instagram. So you can also at any time just reach out. If you've got a question, I'll probably answer it with a question, but I would love to connect with you there too.
So if it can get your teenagers to talk, that's a really powerful tool. I'm going to get that because I need to connect with my niece and nephew. So awesome. Thank you so much for offering that. And speaking of social media, can you give us where's the best social media places to connect with you? Is it Jeremy Nix or?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on Instagram, Jeremy Nix. You can find me on Facebook, Jeremy Nix. I will tell you, I like Instagram, so that's where I'm at the most, but I connect in both worlds. So Instagram, Jeremy Nix, Facebook, Jeremy Nix, Clubhouse, Jeremy Nix. I'm just Jeremy Nix. That's where you can find me.
So find Jeremy Nix everywhere, Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook. We'll put the description in the description. We're going to include the link to his freebie. That way you can get to it directly, and also all the social media channels where you can reach out to Jeremy Nix. I so appreciate having you here, Jeremy, and just excited for what you have in the future, and congratulations on your success. That's amazing.
Thank you so much, Violet. Thanks for having me. I hope it was helpful for someone today.
Yes, definitely. And out there, be encouraged. We're going to be here every week. On Tuesday, we're releasing a new episode so that you can learn the success tips from those people that are reaching massive success and reaching those kingdom goals. So be sure to stay tuned next week. Have a blessed day, everyone. Bye-bye.